quick cars need good headlights, and while the flat six engine in my Boxster GTS is excellent, the headlights are adequate. But like our engines, which we can tune for better performance, it's possible to fine-tune the headlights too to get the very most from them, which is why in this video I'm going to show you what to do with one of those and how to replace that. Welcome to Project 981 and welcome back to the channel. So this is a video all about headlights in our 981 Boxsters and Caymans. Now the GTS came as standard with the Bi-Xenon headlights rated at 35 watts base. 981s I think came with a dual halogen setup, and if you ordered the Bi-Xenon, the standard Bi-Xenons, I think they were rated at 25 watts. The PDLS system here is basically does a bit of steering and range adjustment, but they are basically a Bi-Xenon headlight, and you have a little shutter that goes up to give full beam, and they are okay. But I haven't ever been overwhelmed by their performance, and I wonder whether Porsche kind of knew that too, because when you go to full beam on these, there's actually a third bulb in here, which is a standard H7 filament bulb, and that is powered up when you go to full beam too. So I think this is probably the original, so it's 10 years old or so, and I'm going to replace that. Obviously there's one in each light unit for a contemporary and modern H7 equivalent with possibly a slightly cooler colour temperature, a bluer light. And I'm also going to focus the headlights, because every time you take the light unit out, there's a tiny amount of movement possibly in the bulbs and the focusing points of the bulbs and the lenses. And despite having PDLS, which actually does move the beam, there is still a function in all of the 981 lights to focus, which is to say to set the height and the lateral movement of the beam pattern. So we're trying to create with that principally the dipped beam effect when we have our side lights on. So you need an Allen key, a hex key to do the focus adjustment, and you need a pair of bulbs if you want to replace the old ones. And you then need to pop the headlight units out. So let's make a start. Headlight units come out first, then the new bulbs go in, then the units go back in, and then I'm going to take the car out a little later when it's dark, which is far easier to focus in, funnily enough, and we're going to use that to focus them. Now it's worth saying before we start that you'll no doubt have your own preference for H7 brand of bulb, colour temperature and so on and so forth, and you can't go too far wrong with those. Just putting a modern one in will do the trick. And there are some quite expensive electronics in here. If you've got the base double halogen setup, you're pretty much good to go. If you've got the Xenons or the PDLS Xenons, just be really careful taking the covers off, and I'll show you what's inside when we get to that point. And also popping these out, just take care not to damage the paintwork. But again, it's pretty easy, and actually the manual details both how to remove the units and how to replace the bulbs. So it is a job that we can expect to do ourselves, which is why you're watching this video, and I'm going to show you what to do. Right, let's crack on. Now the first thing to do is to take the headlight unit out. It's pretty straightforward, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. The first thing we need to do is get the special headlight removal tool. Where is that? It's stored in the right hand side of the little storage pouch in the front. So let's get some close-up camera work and I'll show you what to do. Right, now you may or may not see all or some of me, and I've got the camera wide angle to try and show you what's going on in here. Okay, I'm going to take out what for me is the left hand light unit, and to access that we need to take this storage box off first of all, which has got my tyre gunk in it. We also then need the tyre removal tool, which is stored in the right hand box in my car. So take that out. We're looking for that little toolbox, handy here, and put some gloves in there too if you want to have your hands clean when doing a grubby job. Pop that open, and you're looking for that tool. Now in here are 3 rubber covers, and we're looking for the lower of the 3, the lowest. Pop that down, and basically you're going to feed this in to through the hole there. You're going to try and it effectively goes into the side of the mounting bracket for the headlight. It's a bit of a sort of juggle If I get it right first time, it'll be a miracle. But what we want to do is find the slot that it goes into, which I shall now do. Right, there it goes. And that then needs to go in. So it needs to go in so that the handle is facing backwards. And then we're going to flip that down through 90, then 180 degrees. And as we do that, it'll release and push this headlight unit forward. So let's just go. It'll go with a bit of a click. There it goes. And then we can just push it all the way around, and you can see the light is just pushed forward by the clever little mechanism that's sitting underneath here. Once it's to here, just sort of support it with your fingers and then go back to the 6 o'clock position, and it'll tug at your fingers and then release. That's then the unit free. So gently pull it forward, and you can kind of rest it in the aperture. It's plugged in on the left-hand side, my left-hand side, and we want to just pop that off, which we can do easily enough. You might need just to flick the tab, but it will go, and then the whole unit will simply come out. So take a little bit of care with your body work, but it really is as simple as that. Now, it's a little bit cold out here, so I'm going to go inside where we've got more light, and we can do this job dust and debris free from the wind. Okay, welcome to my kitchen table, and here is our lamp unit. I've got a nice big drying towel on the table to stop the lens getting scratched. I've also got a little sort of beanbag thing just to try and stabilise it slightly, although they're not too bad. So first things first, if you're going to give it I've given it a quick clean, and regular viewers will know I like it with a clean. It's not a weatherproof, this, so you do get a bit of dirt and stuff coming through. If you're cleaning this and there's grit and gravel on it and that gets onto your cloth, make sure that once it's on there, move the lens away, get the gravel and grit off so you're not then grinding it into your lovely clear lens. Right, so once it's clean, we need to actually get into the back of the unit, and we're going to remove this principal panel here and also this little access hatch here. And the halogen bulb actually sits sort of in here, but for the PDLS Bi-Xenons, it sits in here, but it's actually also helpful to get a hand in through here. Now, if you're just replacing halogen bulbs in the standard unit, then all you need to do is go in through this back hatch, and again, instructions in the manual for that. So there's 4 crosshead screws here, so I'll just take those off. Okay, so 4 screws out, they come out really easily. And this has got a little, I just spin this round. This has got a little flap, so there's 4 screws, and then it just comes up away. There's a couple of little locating feet, and off that comes. And then suddenly we can see inside the business end of the Xenon controllers. I'm not going to pretend to know what all these bits do, but they all work together. But there's no bulb, there's no halogen bulb, and that's because it sits under this little lid here. Now this pops off pretty easily. Take the tab at the back, and it just comes away as a little locating foot under there, so that can come off happily enough. And now we can see in here the back of the halogen bulb, which I shall now get the camera and show you. Just in there, a familiar, I'm not going to be able to get this to focus, but at the back of that, there we go, is the halogen bulb, the supplementary halogen bulb. We're going to have a look in the top here. You can see, so that bit there, which I'm sort of flashing the light on, that's the back of the halogen bulb in a mount, and you can see we've got the reflector body and bits and pieces here. So it's kind of best access through the top, through here, but it's quite useful to get a hand in here, hence the reason for taking both those off. Right, this is YouTube filming comedy action stunt stuff because it's quite hard to show you, but hence the hand in the back. I can get my hand up to the back of the bulb. Now I'm going to just very gently, metal against metal, just twist the screwdriver to just tease the bulb against these sprung clips and pull it effectively out of the mount, and it goes from the top. There we go. So that is a classic example of a job done very slowly and progressively. And once you've released it against the sprung clips, it will just come loose. Now at this point, having done the other side off camera, I know the trick is to get the whole unit out. So you can come back this way, quite a long way, hence the usefulness of having your hand inside it. Then we're going to just remove the bulb from the mount, and we're going to just wiggle it up. We've got enough slack on the cable, and at this point it's a tight fit, but you've just got to squeeze it through. And I can't, to be honest, remember how to do it. I'm going to just do it. I think it's the base, maybe the top first. There we go. Right, again, take time with this, but it is absolutely fine. And there comes out the unit. Now, I'm going to gently remove that as it comes. That's all fine. Lovely. And it's facing that way. So we're now going to reach for the replacement bulb, which I have to hand. I'm going to place the bulb in so that that goes the same way, which is that. It clips in nicely. So it is, funnily enough, the same process in reverse. And you've got a bit of cable to get over another bit of lightness, so just wiggle it back down in. There we go. Right. So once it's in, you can push the whole thing back, and then you can literally aim the head of the bulb for the hole, which you can't see and I can, and feed it in. I'll show you with the other bulb. So effectively what we're doing is we're putting that base, let's just see if I can make sure this is focusing. So that base pin there is oriented down, and it goes down to the bottom and sits in a little recess, and then we push the bulb in. So that sits in the recess and we push the bulb in. So I want to see, and you're sort of pushing it against the sprung clip. So let's do that now. And I think that has done the trick. You should be able to see the two clips. Not quite sure that's fully in. Let's have another go. There we go. That's it. Good solid purchase, and the bulb sitting flush against the body. And now I can see the two clips are holding the body of the bulb. So that is, it's slow and requires care not to break anything, but it's actually relatively easy. There we go. You see there's two sprung clips on the top. The screwdriver is going in to that gap there. So when you come take it out, get my head torch in the right place, the screwdriver is going into that gap there. And at this point, it really is as simple as popping the cover back on, which has got three little feet there. Feet, that goes the other way around actually. So they go in like that. That bit in first, that lines up, nice click. And then we can reorientate for ease of screwing the cover. Feet go in there, pop it in, locate the rest of it. There we go. And then 4 screws, and then that'll be all ready to go back in the car. Now, if you're finding this video illuminating and I've shone a little bit of light on the matter of the headlights, then do give me a like. And if you want to see more from me and the Boxster, then consider subscribing to the channel as well. Thank you. Okay, so everything's back in, and I have just oriented the light to show you what we're going to be doing later with the hex. And so this is so driver is here. A light unit is in the car. You'll remember it's the right, well, it's my left, it's the right hand, the offside in the UK light unit. And those two little flaps, that we saw, and I'll remind you with the drop-in of a photo now, they cover these apertures here, and it's these that control the focus, lateral and vertical, for the main beams, or dip beams I should say. So effectively what we're doing is we're going through the bulkhead into that, and we are turning. I won't do much, I don't want to ruin my lights totally without checking later. We're basically turning those. The easy way to remember is that the higher hole, the higher adjuster does the height, so up and down, and then the lower one does lateral, so higher for height, lower for lateral. And I bought this when I had my 997, the gap was a bit deeper. You might get away with a normal Allen key for this, not so long, but I can't remember what size it is. It's a 5mm, so a 5mm, and we're going to go through the bulkhead into those. So when you push your Allen key through, that's what you're going into. It doesn't sit hugely deeply, but it just goes in enough to turn them. So that's the job for later. Anyway, in the meantime, that is now a nice, clean light unit with a new, hopefully brighter bulb. I haven't done anything else to the halogens, to the xenons, as you saw. Let's go and put that back in the car. Right, so walking back into shot, we are now back outside in the slightly darker evening, which is great because we want to do some work in the dark later. Now, we're back where we started with the light unit, so you can see how it orientates in, and you don't want to remove this tool if you can avoid it, just because it doesn't need to come out. So it should start in the 6 o'clock position and leave it there while we put the light in. Again, taking care with your paintwork, maybe a hand under the base of the light there. We want to feed the top in. Actually, to be honest, at this point, you can put the plug back on. Right, and then it kind of goes in on some runners. So what you're trying to do is sit it on the tray, the mounting tray. It's a bit of a wiggle job, and it's a slightly hit and miss too, until once it goes, it'll go. There we go, a little bit lower, that's it. Okay, you'll know it's in place because it kind of slides in of its own volition. Now, at that point, it's a little click and it's sort of more or less there. Basically push it in as far as it'll go, and it'll more or less seat itself, and you'll just see a bit of movement from the lever there. That is effectively back in position, but what we now need to do is, so just gently push it into the bodywork, and then with that in place, we're going to move this back to what I guess from the camera's point of view is 3 o'clock, and it'll lock it in place. Let's just see if we can hear a little click. And that's the light now locked onto that mount tray. We can take that out. We can put the rubber bung back in place, and that is now the light back in. And if you're wondering, the rubber weather seal is continuous from sort of here all the way around to here, but there is a deliberate gap at the bottom, which I believe is to help ventilate the light unit, to get some airflow in, to help cool the ballasts and the electronics. But that's in, locked, tool out, rubber grommet back in. So all that remains to do at this point of the video is to rebuild the trunk, which I won't bore you with on camera, and then we'll rejoin me back out in twilight, and we're going to get the sockets open here. We'll get the Allen key in, and we'll check the focus for the dip beams, and then we'll see how the new H7 bulbs perform as well. Okay, it's now quite a lot darker. I'm in a local car park, so let's get the headlights or the dip beams on. I'm going to try and do this without having the engine running. So we can see already we've got some focus there, and it's this area here that I'm going to try and just check. So I'm reasonably happy that the beams are not flashing other people. So I'm really happy that the height is accurate. It's more the lateral adjustment I want to check. But let's get stuck in and have a look at what happens when we toggle something. So I'm going to go with the left-hand headlight. If I block off this side, so I'm now standing over the right-hand headlight, as you can see if I move my shadow. So that seems about right. Now if I stand in front of that light, where is the other dip? Yeah, that's what I thought. It's miles away. So we've got the dip on this side is beneath the right-hand edge of that window above it. The dip on this side is kind of central. Now, I'm conscious, and you're probably thinking at the same time, that we've got a distance thing going on here as well, because they will be in perfect focus at a certain distance. But I'm working on the basis that they're currently quite a lot out, regardless. And pragmatically, I've kind of done this before on previous cars, on my 997 and on a 987, and I kind of know that it does work. There we go, fiddling around. It does work if you sort of roughly do it. So I'm going to now try and move that dip to the left. That's moved a bit. It's still not as much as that. It's still quite a lot lower as well, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Let's now just do the left-hand one and get it a bit higher. So I'm adjusting the left light. I'm standing, the right light. I'm standing in front of the left light. There we go. Look, you can see that coming up quite clearly. That feels a bit more useful to me. Right, let's now do a little bit of a. Yeah, I can start to see what I thought was the case, which is that we had a bit of a mismatch. I'm just going to walk into shot at this point and point to what I'm trying to achieve. So there's a difference in brick here to here. There's a physical difference in the bricks, and this is the level, the height I'm trying to get the light to. And then there's the focus point, which is somewhere, can't quite tell my, yes, somewhere in here as well. So that's what I'm trying to literally point to focus the lights on. Now bear in mind a couple of things at this point. So the three things I've done to make sure the car is as level as it should be. I have checked the tyre pressures. I have made sure there's nothing heavy in the boot or the frunk. And I've also got roughly, maybe just a smidge under half a tank of fuel. So we've got a sort of neutral weight, front to rear overall. I think we're not far off there, you know. And I'm just literally blocking one light. So that's me blocking the left, the right-hand light. And I'm now keeping an eye on where that dip is. I'm going to go onto this side and do the same. It's pretty much in the same place. Let's check the height. It's there. Yeah, I think we're there. Right, viewers. So, first part of this evening's exercise is now complete. Take my head torch off and rescue my glasses. We have focused, having taken the light units out and risked moving or altering the focus. We've now rechecked those, and what I've done for a typical distance down the road is I have aligned the two, I can't do it with my hands very well. I've aligned the two dips again for a given distance, and I've actually just raised them very slightly. We'll see if that works. So the next job is to move down the road to where we were before and look at the full beams. Now let me just walk out and put my grey card down again. Again, this is just giving us a reference point for the bulb change for the H7, which should be a little bit whiter. These are the original, well, these are the bulbs that came in my car. There's my little tripod, there's the grey card. So other than helping me in the edit, give you a sense of the colour balance, ignore that. So that's now the car looking down the road with the dipped beam. And luckily it's relatively quiet night on a quiet road. So dip beam, and that's it's quite hard to tell the focus of the dip because we've got nothing to sort of see down the road. You're sort of looking into infinity. Let's put full beam on now, and that's quite a lot more light. Again, we've got that quite nice edge. I don't know if I can show you my hand. Yeah, so quite a nice focus here. You can see there's a little edge up the hedge there. Because there's nothing left, there's nothing in the field here to look at. It's just a hedgerow and then an empty field, we can't see that. But that's pretty good. So let's just do that toggle again. So full beam off, and then the full beam on. So the full beam is lifting the shutter on the Xenons and turning the H7 bulb on. Okay, final position. And let's just pop the card back in, kind of down the road somewhere. There we go. That just gives us that reference. And what does it look like? Well, I think that's all right. Just because I've tipped the focus up slightly, we're looking a bit further down the road. Again, no difference in colour temperature with the Xenons, but let's put the full beam on and see what we get. And I think that is putting a bit more light down the road, I really do. Now the trouble is, when I change the focus, I can do it now on the film, if I change the focus point, it changes the light intensity. So yeah, that's not ideal, but I'll get a couple of still shots, see if we can get a similar focus point and compare and contrast. But as a final shot, if I sort of look down the road, that is a whole load better than I can remember last night when I came to do the first set. So hopefully the still shots will validate that. And yeah, happy days really. So what you can see on the screen now is 4 separate still shots that I've grabbed from my video using my iPhone, in fact. We've got dipped and full beam before and after the focus. And there's 2 things that stand out for me. The first is that by raising the right headlight a little bit on dipped beam, I've got a much more useful amount of light on the right-hand side of the road pointing down towards that hedge. And the second thing is how much more light I've now got on full beam, how much further down the road I can see, and the fact that light is a little bit cooler, a little bit whiter, which is obviously coming from the newer halogen bulb. So that's a good result. But getting this right first time is quite hard, and I knew that I probably had some fine tuning to do. So the next evening I'd been to a Porsche Club of Great Britain regional meet, and on the way home I had my hex key to hand and I stopped a few times to do a little bit of fine tuning. Okay, let's make some progress down here and see what we've got. So needless to say, coming uphill, the car coming towards us, I'm getting a little extra range just by virtue of the car pointing up the hill. Yeah, there's the focus, that's good, isn't it? Look at that, lovely. Off it comes to my side of the road. And that's starting to feel quite useful. There's the PDLS tipping them around the corner. And it does work quite well, doesn't it? There's a tighter bend to the right, car coming the other way. Go. Yeah, now it's probably time for some full beam. So, and that's actually pretty good. Nice little sequence here. Round we go. I don't think PDLS does PDLSing on the. Oh, maybe it does. Yeah, I think it is actually. So that's interesting. So maybe that's the buy. Maybe we have literally got 2 Xenon. I'm pretending I knew what I was on about, viewers, but I think there's a Xenon full beam with a supplementary halogen, and then what we're seeing as we go around the corner with full beam on is still some steering effect. Now this is where, as I said at the top of the video, quick cars need good lights, and for this sort of road speed, which is as much as I'd want to do down here, I can see where I'm going. That's really nice. Good spread of light, good focus, all very good. And as you can see, by the end of things, I'd pretty much got it to a point that I was happy with. Now, the video camera doesn't do a very good job of showing the dipped beam in motion. It doesn't do a terribly good job of showing the full beam in motion. So I'll just drop in what I think are the best two shots, the two still shots that I've got to show the sense of light ahead of you from the driver's seat for dipped. And finally for the full beam. Now this full beam shot was taken down quite a narrow little lane with a lot of trees, a lot of foliage above, and you get a real sense of the focus on the full beam. The answer, of course, is that you probably will need to focus a couple of times. Make sure the car is straight and level. The steering wheel is at the dead ahead, and you're a reasonable distance, so perhaps a little bit further than I was that first evening from your focusing wall, to replicate the distance down the road that you want those two dips to be focused on to get them to line up. So there we go, folks. I hope that's been informative. It's definitely worth focusing lights to get more performance from them. Focusing light generally is a good thing when making films and driving cars, so do get stuck in yourself. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.